3-year-old Emma Johnson clutched her mother's hand as they entered the bustling downtown courthouse. The marble floors gleamed under the overhead lights, and the murmur of voices, lawyers consulting clients, clerks shuffling papers, and the occasional gavel banging in another courtroom filled the air. Emma's mother, Mrs. Johnson, was visiting to attend a routine legal matter involving a minor property dispute. She had dressed Emma in a tiny pink coat, her hair neatly braided, hoping her daughter would remain calm during the long, formal proceedings. Emma, however, had little interest in legal matters. Her wide, curious eyes scanned everything around her. Courtrooms were places of order and seriousness, but to a child, they were full of interesting noises, colors, and people in unusual clothes. Emma's attention was instantly drawn to a corner where a police officer kneeled beside a massive German shepherd. The dog's sleek coat shimmered under the fluorescent lights, and its amber eyes seemed to study everyone in the room. The officer, tall and disciplined, gently patted the dog's head, speaking in a low, firm tone. "Stay calm, Rex. Eyes on me," the officer whispered, though his eyes occasionally flicked toward the gallery where people were seated. Emma's small hand tightened around her mother's as she whispered, "Mommy, look at that dog." Mrs. Johnson glanced down, noticing the fascination on her daughter's face. "Yes, honey. That's a police dog? He's very important and very well trained." Emma tilted her head and pointed. "Good boy." The courtroom seemed to pause. Judge Wilkins, presiding over a civil dispute in the front of the room, glanced up, surprised by the small voice cutting through the dense atmosphere. Lawyers, clerks, and even a few jurors looked toward the source. The judge's stern expression softened, and he allowed a small, almost imperceptible smile to cross his face. Officer Martinez, Rex's handler, was momentarily taken aback. He had trained the German shepherd for years in bomb detection, suspect apprehension, and search and rescue missions. Rex was disciplined and focused, never distracted during court appearances. Yet now, the dog sat calmly, ears perked, eyes fixed on the tiny girl pointing in his direction. "Did she just?" murmured one clerk, barely audible over the shuffle of papers. "Yes," another whispered. "She said good boy." Emma repeated it, a little louder this time. "Good boy." Rex responded almost instantly, giving a single soft bark, as though acknowledging her compliment. The reaction was subtle, but unmistakable. A bond had formed in the most unlikely of places. Between a toddler and a trained police canine, Mrs. Johnson hurried forward, a mix of amusement and embarrassment on her face. "Emma, sweetheart, be careful," she scolded gently, though there was a proud smile in her eyes. Emma turned to her mother with an innocent grin. "He's nice, Mommy. I like him." Judge Wilkins cleared his throat, but kept his eyes on Emma. "Well," he said, his voice warmer than usual, "it seems our courtroom has a little ambassador of goodwill today." A few lawyers chuckled quietly, their tension eased by the unexpected moment. Officer Martinez stepped closer, lowering himself to Emma's level. "Hello there, little lady. This is Rex. He's a very good boy, isn't he?" Emma nodded vigorously. "Yes, good boy." The simplicity of her words belied the impact they had on everyone present. In a courtroom filled with tension, arguments, and the heavy weight of legal responsibility, a child's innocent comment had pierced through the formality and reminded everyone of something fundamental. Kindness and genuine connection transcend age, authority, and profession. Unbeknownst to anyone at that moment, the courthouse's daily routine was about to be altered. One of the journalists covering a high-profile case happened to capture Emma's interaction on camera. The subtle exchange, just a child pointing at a dog and calling him a good boy, was recorded in perfect clarity. In the coming hours, that small clip would reach thousands, then millions, spreading across social media. and captivating audiences nationwide. But in that moment, it was just Emma, her mother, Rex, and Officer Martinez. The room seemed lighter somehow, as if the seriousness that usually hung over the courtroom had momentarily lifted. Jurors glanced at one another, a few suppressing smiles. The judge allowed a soft nod toward Emma, acknowledging her presence without disrupting the official proceedings. Emma's curiosity, however, was insatiable. She reached out a tiny hand toward Rex, who sniffed it gently before sitting back obediently. "He's soft," she whispered. "Yes, he is," Officer Martinez replied, keeping his tone calm. "But we must be gentle and careful. He's a working dog." Emma nodded solemnly, as though she understood the responsibility that came with interacting with such an important animal. She crouched slightly, keeping her gaze level with Rex's, and spoke again. "Good boy." A hush fell over the courtroom. Lawyers paused mid-note-taking, clerks stopped filing papers, and even the judge's gavel hung in midair, as if time itself had slowed. The power of innocence unfiltered, pure, and genuine had claimed the room. Mrs. Johnson, now realizing the gravity of the moment, smiled and whispered, "Emma, you just made a lot of people smile." Emma blinked, looking around. "I just like him, Mommy." And that was all it took. In that ordinary courthouse, amidst the shuffle of legal proceedings and the weight of adult concerns, a child's simple words had created a profound, unifying moment. It was a gentle reminder that even in places of seriousness and stress, humanity could still shine through, even in just 2 words. Good boy. Little did Emma, her mother, or even Officer Martinez know that this brief, innocent interaction was the start of something far larger than themselves, a moment that would be captured, shared and remembered by countless people, and a courtroom that would never forget the tiny girl who reminded everyone what it meant to be kind. The courtroom seemed to hold its breath. Emma's tiny voice, calling out "good boy" to the massive German shepherd, had created a ripple of silence across the room. Lawyers paused mid-note, clerks froze at their desks, and even Judge Wilkins, known for his stern demeanor, leaned back slightly, allowing a small, amused smile to break through his usual formality. Officer Martinez glanced at Rex, whose amber eyes were now firmly focused on the child. The dog's tail wagged slightly, a subtle but unmistakable acknowledgement of Emma's innocence and sincerity. The bond between the toddler and the highly trained canine was instantaneous, almost magical, and everyone in the room felt its weight. Did she just call him a good boy?" whispered one of the junior clerks to her colleague. "Yes," came the quiet reply. "And the dog?" he responded. Emma's mother, Mrs. Johnson, hurried toward her daughter, worry etching her face. "Emma, sweetie, be careful," she whispered, half chuckling, half embarrassed. She glanced at the judge, silently hoping her little girl hadn't caused any disruption. Judge Wilkins, however, waved a reassuring hand. "No harm done," he said warmly, his eyes softening. "Sometimes it's the small things that remind us why we do this work." Emma, unaware of the gravity of her actions, crouched slightly to get closer to Rex, her tiny hands extended but cautious. "Good boy," she repeated, her voice filled with sincerity. Rex responded with a single soft bark, sitting attentively as if acknowledging the child's words. A subtle sound echoed through the courtroom, soft but remarkably powerful. Conversations hushed. People exchanged quiet glances, realizing they were witnessing something unusual, a moment of genuine connection, cutting through the formal rigidity of the legal system. Officer Martinez stepped closer, kneeling slightly to meet Emma's level. "Hey there, little lady," he said gently. "This is Rex, and he's a very good boy. But remember, he's working, so we have to be calm." Emma nodded earnestly. "I will," she said. "I just like him." It was impossible not to notice the sheer innocence in her tone. In a room full of adults weighed down by legal arguments, schedules, and responsibilities, Emma's simplicity felt like a breath of fresh air. The atmosphere shifted subtly. Tension eased, and smiles began to creep onto faces that rarely allowed themselves the luxury. Meanwhile, the media present in the courtroom were already alert. One reporter, assigned to cover a separate case, had captured the moment on her phone without thinking much of it. The clip showed Emma pointing at Rex, saying those two words, and the dog responding with quiet attentiveness. The raw, unfiltered charm of the interaction was undeniable. Wordlessly, the video began circulating among journalists in the room. Phones were discreetly passed, whispers growing. "This is adorable. We need to show this." Emma's mother finally crouched down beside her daughter, brushing a strand of hair from her face. "Emma," she said softly, "you're making a lot of people smile." Emma looked around, curiosity shining in her bright eyes. "I like him," she repeated. Officer Martinez smiled. "Rex likes you too," he said. "He can sense kindness, just like people can." The courtroom remained unusually still. Even the lawyers, who were normally focused on contracts, motions, and legal arguments, found their attention drawn to the small girl and the dog. A few jurors smiled discreetly, others whispered quietly, and the judge allowed a pause in proceedings, taking a rare moment to simply observe. One of the reporters quietly asked permission to film a closer shot. Judge Wilkins, recognizing the innocence of the moment, nodded. "As long as it doesn't interfere with court business," he said. The camera captured Emma's small hand reaching toward Rex's head. The dog leaned slightly into her touch, perfectly calm, obedient, and aware. There was no tension, no aggression, just mutual respect and curiosity. In that instant, the courtroom became more than a place of law. It became a stage for an unexpected lesson in empathy and human-animal connection. Whispers spread through the room about how rare it was to witness such a controlled response from a police dog in a public, high-stress environment. Officer Martinez's pride was evident. "This is Rex at his best," he said softly to his fellow officers. "Even in a room full of strangers, he remains calm. But kids bring something different out of him." Emma, oblivious to the attention she had drawn, stood tall, repeating her phrase once more, "Good boy." The soft bark from Rex seemed to punctuate her words. There was a round of subtle chuckles and appreciative nods from the audience. The courtroom had transformed in those few moments. Tension had melted into warmth, seriousness softened by innocence. And everyone felt the unusual magic of witnessing a child interact with a working animal in such a professional environment. Mrs. Johnson glanced around, astonished. "I can't believe this," she whispered. "Everyone is." Smiling, a few reporters exchanged excited glances. "We have to get this on the record," one said. "This is going to go viral." Emma, unaware of the impending fame, crouched down to pet Rex gently. The dog's tail wagged slightly, as if in approval. The bond was clear, mutual, and undeniable. Even Officer Martinez, a seasoned handler with years of experience, felt a strange sense of awe. He had trained Rex for countless scenarios, dangerous, tense, life or death, but nothing had prepared him for the power of a 3-year-old's innocence. The judge finally spoke, breaking the hush with a soft chuckle. "Sometimes," he said, "it takes the smallest voices to remind us why we carry out our duties. Let this be a lesson for all of us." Emma's mother hugged her daughter gently. "See? You made everyone happy," she said. Emma beamed, tilting her head toward Rex. "He's nice," she said simply. And in that courtroom, for just a few precious moments, the world seemed kinder, lighter, and full of possibility. The ordinary routine of legal proceedings had been transformed into something extraordinary, a fleeting, yet unforgettable display of innocence, empathy, and the unspoken bond between humans and animals. Unbeknownst to anyone, the small smartphone recording in the corner had captured it all. The clip, showing a tiny girl calling a giant police dog a good boy, would soon travel far beyond the courthouse walls. Within hours, it would be shared across social media, capturing hearts nationwide. But in that moment, it was just Emma, Rex, Officer Martinez, and a courtroom that had paused to appreciate the simple, profound beauty of a child's words. For Emma, it was just another day of curiosity. For the courthouse, it was a gentle reminder that even the smallest voices could make the biggest impact. By the time the courthouse emptied for the afternoon, Emma's small interaction with Rex had already begun making waves. One of the reporters, covering a civil dispute nearby, had captured the entire exchange on her phone. Emma's tiny hand reaching toward the massive German shepherd, her voice bright and clear as she said, "Good boy," and Rex's obedient, gentle bark in response. At first, it was just a casual video shared internally among colleagues, a little light-hearted relief in a day dominated by legal arguments. But within minutes, the clip found its way onto social media. A junior journalist, captivated by the moment, posted it on Twitter with the caption, "3-year-old meets police dog in court. You won't believe how he responded." The simplicity of the video, a toddler's innocent voice, contrasted against the serious backdrop of a courthouse, was irresistible. People across the city started retweeting, commenting, and sharing. Emma's mother, still unaware of the digital storm brewing, gathered her daughter's hand to leave. "Emma, did you like Rex?" she asked softly, guiding her toward the exit. "Yes," Emma exclaimed, eyes sparkling. "He's a good boy, Mommy." The Twitter post spread rapidly. Within an hour, it had already reached tens of thousands of views. Social media users were captivated not only by the innocence of the moment, but by the human-animal connection that seemed to transcend the cold, formal atmosphere of the courtroom. People began leaving heartfelt comments. "This is the purest thing I've seen all week. The world needs more moments like this." Emma just made a courthouse full of serious adults smile. National news outlets quickly noticed the clip. TV anchors replayed the short video in the evening news segment, emphasizing the charm and innocence of the interaction. "In a world often dominated by headlines of conflict and tension," one anchor said, "this tiny girl's simple act reminds us of humanity's softer side." Clips were shared across Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok, with hashtags like #GoodBoyCourtroom and #Emma and Rex trending within hours. Inside the courthouse, Officer Martinez watched the video online for the first time, a proud smile crossing his face. He had known Rex was exceptional, calm, disciplined, and intelligent, but seeing the dog respond gently to a child's innocent words on a screen, broadcast to millions, was astonishing. Rex sat loyally by his side, ears alert, tail wagging gently, as if aware that his moment of kindness was being witnessed far beyond the courtroom walls. Emma's mother, meanwhile, had begun receiving messages from friends, neighbors, and even strangers. "Did you see your daughter's video?" One text read, "She's adorable," and "Rex is perfect." Another, "This made my day. Thank you, Emma." Mrs. Johnson could barely keep up, her phone buzzing nonstop as friends shared the clip across different platforms. She laughed nervously, holding Emma close. "Honey, you're famous," she whispered, unsure whether to be amused or worried. Emma, of course, had no concept of fame. To her, it was all simple curiosity and joy. She had seen a dog, and she had said what she felt. That was enough. But the ripple effect of those two words, spoken softly in the middle of a formal courtroom, was immense. By the next morning, a video had been picked up by national news websites. Articles described the scene in detail: the 3-year-old's courage to speak in a formal setting, the dog's disciplined response, and the subtle transformation of the courtroom's atmosphere. Headlines read, "Tiny Toddler Steals the Show in Courthouse," "Canine Interaction," and 3-year-old Calls Police Dog a Good Boy. Internet melts. The clip sparked a conversation about the relationship between children and animals, particularly working dogs. Child psychologists weighed in on morning talk shows, discussing the emotional intelligence of toddlers and their instinctive empathy toward animals. Children often see purity in behavior that adults have forgotten to notice, one expert said. Emma's interaction shows how instinctive kindness can soften even the most disciplined, serious environments. Meanwhile, police departments across the country noticed the story. Social media accounts for canine units began reposting the clip, highlighting the bond between handlers and their dogs. Officer Martinez received emails from colleagues praising both Rex and Emma for the positive message they had unintentionally sent. The video became a teaching moment, showing how small, innocent actions can foster community trust and warmth. Emma's school also caught wind of the story. Teachers shared the video with other students, sparking discussions about kindness, empathy, and respect for animals. Children were fascinated by the idea that a toddler in a courthouse could have such an impact, and the story became a lesson in how even the youngest voices matter. Back in the courthouse, Judge Wilkins reviewed the clip himself later that day. He had never anticipated that a mundane interaction during recess would capture nationwide attention. But as he watched Emma point at Rex and speak those simple words, he felt a warmth he hadn't experienced in years. "Sometimes," he muttered quietly, "it's the smallest gestures that make the biggest difference." Emma's mother, reading through the flood of messages, finally understood the scale of the moment. "Sweetheart," she said softly, kneeling beside her daughter, "people all over the country are smiling because of you." Emma looked up, blinking, and asked innocently, "Because I said good boy?" "Yes, honey," her mother replied. "Because you said good boy." The video continued to grow in popularity. By the end of the week, it had millions of views. Memes and reaction videos popped up, all celebrating Emma's courage and Rex's calm demeanor. Social media influencers commented on the simplicity and purity of the scene, while local news reporters returned to the courthouse to cover follow-up interviews. For Officer Martinez, the fame was unexpected but heartwarming. He noticed Rex behaving more attentively during subsequent appearances, as if the dog understood the significance of his moment in the spotlight. He began using the clip in training demonstrations, showing how discipline, calmness, and empathy can coexist, even in high-pressure environments. Emma, meanwhile, remained blissfully unaware of her viral status. To her, Rex was simply a friend, and the courthouse a place of curiosity. Yet, unknowingly, she had started a movement, a celebration of innocence, empathy, and the unexpected power of a child's voice. By the time the media frenzy began to settle, one thing was clear. 2 simple words, "good boy," had captured hearts nationwide. The courthouse, once just a place of legal arguments, had become the backdrop for a moment that reminded the world of human kindness, the power of innocence, and the gentle connection between a child and a working dog. And though Emma would soon forget the viral fame, the courtroom, the officers, and Rex would forever remember the day a little girl's simple gesture changed everything. While the nation marveled at the viral video, the story behind Rex and Officer Martinez began to unfold. Rex wasn't just any dog. He was a 4-year-old German Shepherd trained for the most demanding tasks in law enforcement. Bomb detection, suspect apprehension, search and rescue. Rex had faced it all. His calm demeanor in the courtroom was no accident. It was the result of years of disciplined training, trust building, and countless hours of work with his handler. Officer Martinez had been with the K-9 unit for over a decade. He knew every nuance of Rex's behavior, when he was alert, when he was anxious, and when he responded to subtle emotional cues. Martinez often described their bond as almost telepathic. After years of training together, he could predict Rex's reactions to any situation. And yet, even with this deep connection, nothing had prepared him for a toddler's innocent words, causing the entire dog to sit attentively and respond with such gentleness. Rex has faced dangerous situations, Martinez explained during an interview with a local news station. Explosives, armed suspects, high-stress environments. And yet, when Emma spoke those two words, he responded as if he understood her completely. It's remarkable. Behind the viral clip lay countless untold hours of preparation. Martinez had begun working with Rex when the dog was just a puppy, teaching him obedience, socialization, and emotional control. The process was grueling. Puppies were unpredictable, excitable, and often resistant to commands. But Martinez's patience, consistency, and empathy had shaped Rex into the disciplined, reliable K-9 officer he was today. I've trained hundreds of dogs over the years, Martinez continued. But Rex is special. He's disciplined, yes, but he also has this ability to sense innocence and respond to it. Kids, in particular, bring out a side of him I haven't seen with anyone else. Rex's story also included rescue missions that often went unnoticed. In one instance, he had located a lost hiker in the mountains, guiding search teams through dense forests for hours. In another, he had successfully assisted in neutralizing a potentially explosive device, saving countless lives. And yet, despite these heroic acts, it was a quiet, unassuming moment in a courthouse that brought him nationwide attention. The media coverage delved into Rex's past, showing clips of his training, past missions, and interactions with children during community outreach events. People were fascinated by the duality of his existence, fierce and fearless when required, yet gentle and empathetic when the moment called for it. The viral moment with Emma had highlighted the latter side, and audiences responded with overwhelming warmth and admiration. Emma's mother, Mrs. Johnson, reflected on the interaction with a mix of pride and disbelief. I knew Emma loved animals, she said, but I never imagined a simple comment would touch so many people. And Rex, seeing him respond so calmly, it was like they understood each other in a way I couldn't explain. Even within the police department, officers who had worked alongside Martinez for years were amazed. I've never seen anything like it, said Officer Ramirez, a fellow K-9 handler. Rex is trained for life or death scenarios, not for viral internet moments. And yet, there he was, responding to a 3-year-old as if she were speaking a language only he could understand. The story also sparked broader conversations about the human-animal bond. Psychologists and animal behaviorists weighed in, explaining how children's emotional sincerity often triggers intuitive responses in animals. Children operate without the pretense or calculation adults bring, one expert said. Animals can detect that authenticity and respond in ways that surprise even the most experienced handlers. Rex's training methods also became a point of interest. Martinez explained how he combined physical commands with emotional reinforcement, building trust rather than relying solely on authority. This approach created a dog who could handle extreme stress without losing composure. And it was this composure that allowed Rex to sit calmly as Emma pointed and spoke, unaffected by the noise, motion, and distractions of a full courtroom. The story extended beyond the dog and the child. Social media users began reflecting on the patience and dedication required to train working animals, highlighting the often unseen efforts of law enforcement officers. We see the heroics, but we forget the preparation, the hours, the discipline, one commenter wrote. Rex didn't just become calm by chance. It took years of care and trust between him and Officer Martinez. Meanwhile, Emma herself remained delightfully unaware of the attention she had sparked. To her, Rex was simply a friend, and the courthouse a place where people worked. Yet, in her innocent eyes, she had achieved something remarkable, bridging the gap between a disciplined, trained animal and the human world of warmth and affection. The viral video inspired similar stories nationwide. Police departments shared their own canine experiences with children, emphasizing how training and empathy could coexist. Communities discussed initiatives where children could safely interact with service animals, fostering understanding and respect for both law enforcement and the animals that serve alongside them. Martinez began using the clip as an educational tool within the department. "This is what we strive for," he said during a training session. "A dog that can perform at the highest level, but still respond to genuine kindness. It's a balance of discipline and empathy, and Rex exemplifies it perfectly." Emma's encounter had also left an imprint on the courthouse staff. Clerks and judges spoke about how a simple moment of innocence had reminded them to slow down and appreciate life, beyond legal paperwork and court procedures. The courtroom, once a place dominated by rules and formalities, had briefly transformed into a space of shared humanity. And while the world watched the video online, sharing and commenting with delight, the true story remained even richer. A carefully trained canine, a devoted handler, and a tiny girl whose simple words had revealed something profound about trust, patience, and connection. That quiet, ordinary afternoon in a courthouse had become extraordinary. The world saw only the 2-second clip, but behind it lay years of preparation, countless missions, and an unspoken bond between a man and his dog. Emma's words had simply illuminated it for everyone to see. As the day ended, Martinez knelt beside Rex, stroking his head gently. "You did good, buddy," he whispered. Rex leaned into the touch, tail wagging softly, as if understanding both the praise and the significance of the moment. Somewhere nearby, Emma and her mother were leaving, blissfully unaware that their brief encounter had already captured the hearts of millions. And though the story was just beginning to reach the public, it was clear that this bond between human, child, and dog would be remembered long after the courthouse emptied and the camera stopped rolling. The viral moment had a heart, a backstory, and a lesson that patience, empathy, and genuine connection could transcend even the most disciplined of environments. It wasn't just about a video going viral. It was about years of dedication, love, and trust converging in a single perfect moment. And for Emma, Rex, and Officer Martinez, it was a moment that would define their lives, teaching them and the world about the quiet power of kindness. By the following morning, Emma Johnson's tiny courtroom interaction had reached every corner of the internet. The video, showing a 3-year-old pointing at a German shepherd and saying "good boy," had gone viral, captivating millions. Social media platforms buzzed with reactions, shares, likes, and comments flooded in from around the country. Hashtags like #GoodBoyCourtroom and #Emma and Rex were trending, dominating feeds and sparking widespread discussion. For many, the clip was a rare moment of pure, unfiltered joy amidst the noise of everyday life. Local news stations were the first to cover the story, running footage of Emma and Rex, alongside interviews with Officer Martinez and Judge Wilkins. Martinez described Rex's training, emphasizing the balance of discipline and empathy that allowed the dog to respond to a toddler's innocent words. "Rex is a working dog," Martinez explained, his voice calm but filled with pride, trained for high-stress situations, explosives, and rescue missions. But he also senses genuine kindness. That's why he responded to Emma the way he did. Judge Wilkins shared his perspective as well. "In the middle of serious legal proceedings, a small voice reminded us all of humanity," he said. Emma's words were simple, but they brought warmth and a smile to everyone in the courtroom. Sometimes it takes the youngest voices to remind us what really matters. National media quickly picked up the story. Morning shows featured interviews with child psychologists, discussing the instinctive empathy children possess. Emma's interaction with Rex is a perfect example of how children perceive the world without the barriers adults often create. One expert said, "They can connect with animals on a level that is pure and genuine." Her words and Rex's response highlight the importance of emotional intelligence, even in a young child. Television anchors replayed the clip repeatedly, highlighting the contrast between the formal courtroom setting and the spontaneous moment of innocence. Emma's bright eyes, tiny hands, and excited voice stood in stark contrast to the marble floors, wooden benches, and serious expressions of the adults around her. Viewers across the nation were charmed. Parents shared the video with their own children, while dog owners marveled at Rex's disciplined yet gentle behavior. Social media influencers joined the conversation, posting reaction videos and memes celebrating the interaction. Some compared it to heartwarming viral moments from years past, while others commented on the unexpected nature of a courthouse becoming the setting for a story about innocence and kindness. For many, it was a reminder that joy could appear in the most unlikely places. Even schools got involved. Teachers showed the clip to students, prompting discussions about kindness, empathy, and respecting animals. Children were fascinated by the story, asking questions about police dogs, their training, and how they help communities. Emma's interaction with Rex had sparked an educational opportunity far beyond the courtroom walls, inspiring curiosity and compassion among young audiences. Meanwhile, Emma remained blissfully unaware of her newfound fame. To her, Rex was simply a new friend, and the courthouse a place of curious sights and sounds. She had no idea that her 2 words had captured the attention of millions. Mrs. Johnson, however, was overwhelmed. Phones buzzed nonstop, with messages, emails, and social media notifications piling up. "Sweetheart, people all over the country are talking about you," she whispered as Emma held her hand, oblivious to the growing attention. Officer Martinez also noticed the attention, though he remained professional and grounded. He understood the potential influence of the moment, but focused on Rex and his work. "This is good publicity," he said in an interview, "but it's also an opportunity to show the public the dedication behind training K9 units. Rex is remarkable, yes, but it's also years of discipline and patience that allow him to respond this way." Community organizations began reaching out to the Johnsons. Invitations to local police events, children's outreach programs, and charity functions poured in. Emma's innocence had become a symbol of positivity, bridging the gap between law enforcement and the communities they served. The viral video was more than just entertainment. It had become a unifying moment that encouraged dialogue and goodwill. Television crews returned to the courthouse to interview witnesses and staff who had observed the interaction. Clerks, lawyers, and jurors all shared their perspectives, each recounting how Emma's simple words had transformed a routine day. "It was like the air in the room shifted," one clerk said. "Everyone was smiling. Everyone was lighter. You could feel it." The story emphasized that even in formal, high-pressure environments, humanity could shine through, and small acts of kindness could leave lasting impressions. Emma's impact extended beyond media coverage. Charities supporting police dogs and therapy animals noticed a surge in donations, inspired by the viral clip. Schools and community centers organized programs to allow children to interact safely, with K9 units teaching empathy, respect, and responsibility. Emma's 2 words had sparked a nationwide movement, turning a fleeting moment into something meaningful and long-lasting. Despite the media frenzy, the Johnson family tried to maintain some normalcy. Emma still played in her backyard, asked countless questions about animals, and repeated her phrase to Rex whenever they visited the courthouse. She was blissfully unaware of the millions who had seen her interaction, the discussions it had sparked, and the hearts it had touched. Rex, on the other hand, remained the disciplined professional everyone knew him to be. Yet even he seemed to understand the significance of the moment, sitting attentively and responding gently whenever Emma was near. Officer Martinez often remarked on the unspoken communication between child and dog. "He's not just responding to commands," he said. "He's sensing her innocence." It's remarkable how a working dog can adapt to these situations with the right training and patience. National talk shows invited the Johnsons to appear on live segments, but Mrs. Johnson hesitated. "Emma is just a child," she explained to the producers. "I don't want her overwhelmed. She doesn't understand all this attention." Yet the producers assured them that the appearances would be brief, respectful, and focused on the positive message rather than sensationalism. As the media coverage continued, the story became more than a viral video. It became a symbol. People spoke about the importance of nurturing empathy, teaching children to respect animals, and the dedication required to train service dogs. It reminded the nation that even amidst stress, division, and conflict, simple acts of kindness could transcend boundaries. By the end of the week, the Johnsons had received letters from strangers, invitations to speak at local events, and praise from officials who had watched the clip. Emma's words, just two small words, had started a ripple effect, inspiring kindness, awareness, and community engagement. For Officer Martinez and Rex, the recognition was humbling, but also affirming, a validation of years of dedication, training, and trust. The viral moment had changed lives in subtle but profound ways. For Emma, it was a simple interaction with a dog she liked. For Rex, it was a chance to demonstrate his calm and empathetic nature outside of duty. For Officer Martinez, it was a reminder that the bonds built through years of work could touch hearts far beyond the immediate scope of law enforcement. And for the nation, it was a story of innocence, connection, and the simple yet powerful impact of two words: good boy. Even as media coverage continued, Emma remained blissfully herself. She visited Rex, played with her toys, and asked endless questions about dogs, all while unaware that the world had fallen in love with her and her tiny but meaningful gesture. And in the courthouse, Judge Wilkins, clerks, and officers reflected on the event with a renewed sense of perspective. A small child's voice had reminded them that even in places of authority, order and seriousness, humanity and compassion were never out of place. The viral moment had begun as a fleeting, innocent exchange, but its impact would last far longer than anyone could have imagined. The viral video had barely cooled down when its impact began rippling far beyond what anyone had anticipated. Communities across the United States started discussing the story of Emma and Rex, captivated by the simplicity and purity of a toddler's interaction with a police dog. Social media posts proliferated, not just celebrating Emma's innocence, but also highlighting the importance of kindness, empathy, and the human-animal bond. The clip sparked countless conversations about teaching children to respect and understand working animals, as well as the emotional intelligence present, even in the youngest among us. Within days, police departments across multiple states reached out to the Johnsons. They invited Emma and her mother to community events, canine demonstrations, and charity fundraisers. Officers explained that they wanted to leverage the story as a teaching moment, an opportunity to showcase the importance of trust between law enforcement, children, and the public. For Mrs. Johnson, it was overwhelming. Her tiny daughter had become the symbol of something much larger than anyone could have imagined. At one of the first events, a local police station invited Emma and a group of children from nearby schools to meet various K-9 units. Children sat wide-eyed, learning how police dogs were trained to detect explosives, track missing persons, and assist officers in maintaining public safety. When Emma approached Rex, she instinctively repeated her signature words, "Good boy." Rex responded with a soft bark, tail wagging, as if approving her praise. The other children erupted into delighted giggles, inspired by Emma's example. Local media covered the event extensively. Reporters highlighted the educational and emotional value of connecting children with service animals. Psychologists and child development experts commented on how such interactions can foster empathy, responsibility, and confidence. Children respond profoundly to nonverbal cues and authentic expressions of kindness, one expert noted. Emma's interaction with Rex demonstrates that even the youngest individuals can have a meaningful, positive influence on the world around them. Officer Martinez, who had initially been skeptical of media attention, now saw the tangible benefits of the story. He noticed that Rex, despite years of high-stress missions and disciplined training, seemed calmer and more confident when interacting with children during these events. Rex responds to genuine emotion, Martinez explained to the audience during a demonstration. He knows when someone is sincere, and children often bring out a side of him that is impossible to teach through training alone. Emma, naturally curious, asked endless questions about Rex, other police dogs, and the work they performed. "Can he help people get lost?" she asked. "And can he find bad guys?" Martinez smiled and answered patiently, explaining the importance of the dog's work, while also emphasizing that kindness and respect were just as important as obedience and skill. The audience, both children and adults, watched, captivated by the seamless balance of discipline and warmth between handler, dog, and child. Beyond educational programs, the viral video inspired charitable initiatives. Donations poured into organizations supporting police dogs, therapy dogs, and training programs. Families sent letters to the Johnsons, sharing stories about how Emma's simple act had motivated them to engage more positively with their communities and pets. Social media users launched challenges and campaigns, promoting empathy toward animals and encouraging children to participate in community service. The Johnsons were astounded. A two-word comment, uttered spontaneously by a toddler, had catalyzed national awareness, charitable support, and positive social change. Schools and daycare centers began inviting canine units to conduct demonstrations. Teachers explained the story of Emma and Rex to children, illustrating the significance of trust, empathy, and responsibility. Children lined up to meet the dogs, often whispering "good boy," just as Emma had, creating a wave of innocence and positivity in classrooms nationwide. The viral moment, originally a brief courthouse incident, had transformed into a movement, instilling values that many adults struggled to remember in their day-to-day lives. Even local governments took notice. City councils discussed implementing child-friendly K-9 programs, combining education, safety awareness, and social engagement. Communities realized that connecting children with working animals could foster mutual respect and understanding while supporting law enforcement efforts. Emma's tiny gesture had unknowingly become a catalyst for these initiatives, showing the profound impact a single, authentic moment could have on broader society. For Mrs. Johnson, the attention was both exhilarating and exhausting. Her daughter remained blissfully unaware of her fame, treating Rex like any other friend she'd met. Emma would tug at Martinez's sleeve, ask questions about the dog's daily routine, or pat Rex gently while repeating her signature phrase. Yet, the real impact was happening in the world around her. People were inspired to pause, notice small acts of kindness, and engage with their communities in ways they hadn't considered before. Officer Martinez reflected on the broader significance of the moment. "I've trained and worked with hundreds of dogs over the years," he said during an interview. "Rex is exceptional, yes, but this proves something beyond skill and obedience. It's about connection, human connection, and the way kindness can change behavior, even in trained animals. That's the real lesson. Community leaders began inviting Emma and Rex to visit hospitals, therapy programs, and other children's initiatives. Each visit was met with enthusiastic crowds, excited to witness the remarkable bond between child and dog firsthand. The viral video had evolved from an amusing clip into a vehicle for emotional education, empathy training, and community engagement. People marveled at how a seemingly ordinary moment in a courthouse had triggered something extraordinary on a national scale. For Emma, the visits were playful and joyful. She giggled as Rex nudged her hand with his nose, barked softly in response to her praise, and allowed her to explore his world. Each interaction was simple, genuine, and unforced, exactly what had captured the hearts of millions. For the adults, the experiences were more than heartwarming. They were a reminder that connection, empathy, and kindness remain powerful forces in a world often dominated by technology, routines, and distraction. Even months later, the ripple effects continued. Programs inspired by Emma's viral moment were sustained by donations, volunteers, and law enforcement engagement. Parents shared the story with their children, teaching them about compassion, responsibility, and understanding. Social media continued to revisit the clip periodically, generating new waves of interest and admiration. What began as a two-word comment in a quiet courtroom had sparked a movement far beyond anyone's expectations. Ultimately, the story of Emma and Rex became a symbol of hope, innocence, and the extraordinary power of small gestures. The courthouse, once just a setting for legal proceedings, had become the birthplace of a phenomenon that inspired nationwide discussions about empathy, education, and the human-animal bond. Two simple words, "good boy," had proven that even the smallest voices could generate profound change, reminding the world of the beauty hidden in moments of genuine connection. As Officer Martinez watched Emma interact with Rex during another school visit, he felt a profound sense of pride and gratitude. Years of discipline, training, and patience had prepared Rex for dangerous and high-pressure scenarios, but it was a toddler's innocence that revealed the dog's true depth of character. And for Emma, it was a moment of joy, curiosity, and friendship that would shape her understanding of kindness and empathy for years to come. Weeks after the viral video first appeared, Emma and her family were invited to a special event at the city's community center. The event, organized by the local police department, celebrated the bond between law enforcement canine units and the community. Emma was unaware of the significance of the occasion. To her, it was another opportunity to see Rex, her favorite dog. But for Officer Martinez and the organizers, this was more than a meet and greet. It was a chance to honor the young girl, whose innocence had captured the hearts of millions. The room buzzed with activity as families, children, and media representatives gathered. Colorful banners adorned the walls, some displaying phrases like, "Building trust," "One paw at a time," and "Small acts, big impact." Volunteers had organized tables with educational materials about service animals, interactive exhibits, and demonstrations showcasing police dog skills. The air carried a mix of excitement, curiosity, and admiration. Emma's mother guided her toward the center of the room, where Rex sat obediently, his ears perked, tail swaying gently. The massive dog seemed to recognize Emma instantly, tilting his head and giving a soft bark. Emma's eyes widened in delight. "Rex!" she exclaimed, running toward him. She reached out to pat his head, her tiny hands brushing against his thick fur. Rex leaned into her touch, responding as he always had, gentle, calm, and fully attentive. Officer Martinez knelt beside the dog. "Good to see you, little lady," he said warmly. "Rex has missed you." Emma beamed. "I missed him too." The ceremony began with a short speech from Chief Daniels, the head of the city's police department. He recounted the story of Emma and Rex, describing the courtroom moment that had gone viral. In a world that often focuses on conflict and challenges, he said, a 3-year-old girl reminded us of the power of kindness, empathy, and connection. Her simple words, "Good boy," have inspired communities, children, and adults alike. Today, we honor not just the bravery and discipline of our K-9 units, but the innocence and courage of a little girl whose heart reminded us all why we serve. The audience erupted in applause. Emma clapped enthusiastically, unaware of the magnitude of the recognition. She looked up at her mother, who smiled proudly, tears glistening in her eyes. Mrs. Johnson whispered, "See, honey? Everyone's celebrating you." Following the speech, the organizers presented Emma with a small plaque, engraved with the words, "For courage, kindness, and inspiring a nation, Emma Johnson, 3 years old." She held it carefully, her eyes wide. "It's for me?" she asked, voice tinged with excitement. "Yes, sweetheart," her mother said softly. "For you." The recognition didn't stop there. Officer Martinez spoke to the gathered crowd, sharing insights about Rex's training and the significance of the bond between child and dog. He emphasized that what people saw in the viral video was the result of years of discipline, care, and trust building. Yet, he acknowledged that Emma's innocence had brought out a side of Rex that even he hadn't fully witnessed before. Rex has faced countless high-stress situations, Martinez explained. But it was Emma's sincerity that touched him the most. Children have a way of breaking through barriers adults can't always reach. This bond we see today is proof of that. As the event continued, children lined up to meet Rex, mimicking Emma's words. "Good boy." The room echoed with laughter, soft barks, and delight. Each child's interaction with the dog highlighted the power of Emma's example, how one small act could ripple outward, inspiring others to engage with empathy and kindness. Local media documented every moment. Photographers captured Emma's laughter as Rex nudged her hand. Reporters filmed her interactions with other children. And journalists interviewed the Johnsons about the unexpected journey from a quiet courtroom to national attention. Emma, meanwhile, remained blissfully unaware of the fame surrounding her. She simply enjoyed playing with Rex, patting him, and watching him respond with calm attentiveness. The ceremony concluded with a heartfelt moment between Emma and Officer Martinez. Kneeling to meet her eye level, he spoke gently. "Emma, you've reminded us all why our work matters, not just the training, not just the discipline, but the way kindness can change lives. You have inspired people across the nation with just 2 words." Emma smiled shyly. "I just like him," she said. Martinez chuckled softly. And that's exactly what made the difference. Following the event, the Johnsons were invited to participate in a series of community programs designed to strengthen relationships between children, families, and law enforcement. The viral video had become a catalyst for a nationwide initiative encouraging interaction with service animals, teaching children about empathy, responsibility, and respect. Emma's 2 words had sparked a movement, highlighting the importance of nurturing compassion from an early age. Even outside of organized events, Emma's story continued to inspire. Families shared their own experiences of children and animals, creating online communities celebrating similar acts of kindness. Police departments began documenting and sharing positive interactions between children and K-9 units, recognizing the emotional and educational value these moments could provide. For Officer Martinez, the experience reinforced his dedication to his work. He often reflected on the lesson Emma had inadvertently taught him, that discipline, training, and skill are essential, but empathy and connection are equally powerful forces. In the following weeks, he implemented new training methods that emphasized understanding emotional cues and building trust, ensuring that other K-9 units could also interact safely and meaningfully with children and the public. Rex, ever the calm and disciplined partner, continued to demonstrate remarkable sensitivity to Emma's presence. The bond between child and dog became a model for handlers and families alike, illustrating the profound impact of trust, patience, and kindness. As the Johnsons returned home that evening, Mrs. Johnson reflected on the whirlwind of events. "I never imagined a simple moment in a courtroom would lead to all this," she whispered. Emma, exhausted but happy, hugged Rex's leash, murmuring softly, "Good boy." And in that quiet, ordinary act, the extraordinary power of her words was reaffirmed. Millions had seen her, millions had been inspired, and millions had learned a lesson in empathy, patience, and connection. Yet for Emma, it remained simple. A girl, a dog, and the joy of being together. The viral moment, once fleeting, had grown into something timeless. Emma's innocence had created bridges between strangers, communities, and even the disciplined world of law enforcement. Recognition, awards, and media attention came and went, but the true impact was enduring, a reminder that even the smallest voices can create monumental change. That day, as Emma waved goodbye to Rex and Officer Martinez, she carried with her an unspoken understanding of friendship, trust, and the quiet power of a kind word. And for those who witnessed it directly or through a screen, the memory of a 3-year-old pointing at a police dog and saying, "Good boy," would linger forever. A symbol of innocence triumphing in a complex world. Months had passed since the viral video first captured Emma Johnson's simple words in a courthouse, "Good boy." Yet the story of Emma, Rex, and Officer Martinez had not faded. The small moment of innocence had blossomed into something much larger than anyone could have predicted. Across the country, schools, community centers, and police departments continued to celebrate and share the story, using it to teach lessons about empathy, responsibility, and the unspoken bond between children and service animals. Emma herself remained blissfully unaware of her fame. To her, Rex was just a friend, a dog, who listened, responded, and patiently allowed her to express her joy. Her mother, Mrs. Johnson, often marveled at how such a tiny, ordinary moment could inspire millions. She kept the viral video framed on her phone, a reminder that simple kindness could ripple far beyond expectation. The police department continued to leverage the story for educational purposes. Officer Martinez began hosting regular community sessions, inviting children to learn about canine units, animal care, and the importance of empathy. He often cited Emma's interaction as the perfect example of how patience and genuine emotion can create trust and understanding. During these sessions, he would kneel beside Rex, smiling as children approached cautiously, repeating softly, "Good boy," just as Emma had done. What she did, Martinez explained during one session, wasn't planned or taught. It was instinct. And that instinct reminded us all that empathy and kindness are more powerful than we realize. Rex, always disciplined and attentive, continued to shine in these sessions. Yet Martinez noticed a subtle difference now. The dog seemed to respond with an almost human-like understanding when children approached, as if he recognized the sincerity of their gestures. The courtroom moment had revealed a side of Rex. That training alone couldn't teach a side that resonated deeply with human emotion. Emma's influence extended to her school and peers. Teachers shared her story in classrooms, emphasizing the importance of kindness, compassion, and taking initiative to show care for others, including animals. Children discussed how they could interact responsibly with pets, police dogs, and even community animals, fostering empathy at a young age. Emma had unknowingly become a role model, demonstrating through action that even small words and gestures could create positive change. Local media continued to follow the story. Interviews with the Johnsons highlighted how unexpected fame had brought opportunities to engage with communities and charities. Emma attended hospital visits, therapy sessions, and children's outreach programs alongside Rex. Each appearance was met with delight, smiles, and gratitude from families, children, and staff. For many, the simple act of seeing a child and a dog interact with such trust and gentleness was both uplifting and inspiring. The impact reached beyond individual interactions. Charities supporting canine units and therapy animals saw increased donations, enabling them to expand their programs and reach more communities. Workshops were organized for children and parents, teaching animal care, obedience, and the emotional benefits of responsible interaction with service animals. Social media campaigns encouraged families to share their stories, amplifying the message of empathy and kindness further. Officer Martinez observed all of this with quiet pride. Years of rigorous training, discipline, and patience had shaped Rex into an exceptional canine officer, capable of performing under pressure. But it was Emma's innocence that revealed the true depth of the bond they shared. A bond that transcended commands and duties, entering the realm of genuine emotional connection. One crisp autumn afternoon, Martinez brought Rex to a local park where children were gathered for a community demonstration. Emma ran to Rex, calling out, "Good boy." The dog responded with a soft bark, tail wagging gently. Children around them laughed and imitated her words, creating a chorus of innocent voices. Martinez watched, feeling a deep sense of fulfillment. He realized that Emma's influence had created an environment where children could learn empathy organically, through play and observation. Mrs. Johnson watched her daughter with awe. "I never thought a small phrase could mean so much," she said quietly. Emma, beaming, tugged at Rex's leash, delighted with his gentle responses. The story also reached national policymakers and law enforcement organizations. Workshops and seminars incorporated Emma's viral interaction as a case study on human-animal relationships, public engagement, and emotional intelligence in canine training. It highlighted the importance of balancing discipline with sensitivity, proving that even highly trained animals respond positively to authenticity and warmth. In private moments, Officer Martinez reflected on how far the story had come. "I trained Rex for years to handle dangerous situations, stress, and unpredictability," he told the journalist. "But a 3-year-old girl reminded me, and all of us, that the most profound lessons often come from the simplest acts of kindness." Emma's parents also took note of how the experience was shaping their daughter. Though young, she seemed to internalize empathy and compassion naturally. She would share toys, comfort friends, and always speak gently to animals. Recalling her moments with Rex, the viral fame did not inflate her ego or change her behavior. Instead, it reinforced the values she displayed instinctively, a quiet testament to the power of genuine innocence. Years later, the Johnson family would look back on the courthouse moment as a defining memory. For Emma, it was a joyful encounter with a dog she loved. For Rex, it was a demonstration of patience and trust. For Officer Martinez and the law enforcement community, it was a reminder that training and discipline are inseparable from empathy and emotional intelligence. And for the public, it was a story that resonated far beyond its initial context, a viral moment with a lasting, meaningful legacy. Even as Emma grew older, the story remained a cornerstone of her childhood. She never sought attention, nor did she fully understand the scale of her influence. Yet her words and actions continued to inspire, proving that small gestures, genuine and heartfelt, can leave lasting impressions on both people and animals alike. In the quiet of the courthouse, the park, or the community events, the essence of the viral moment endured: a child's sincerity, a dog's calm response, and the human capacity to notice, respect, and celebrate simple acts of kindness. 2 words, "good boy," had traveled across screens, classrooms, and hearts, becoming a symbol of hope, empathy, and connection. Ultimately, the story concluded not with fame or accolades, but with lasting change. Emma, Rex, and Officer Martinez had sparked something far bigger than themselves, a reminder that compassion, innocence, and trust can ripple outward in ways no one could predict. The courthouse, the viral video, and the nationwide attention were mere catalysts. The true impact was the way people, young and old, learned to value connection, empathy, and kindness in their own lives. And as Emma crouched to pet Rex one last time during a community event, softly whispering, "Good boy," it was clear that the lesson endured. The moment was simple, pure, and unassuming, but it carried a message powerful enough to resonate across generations. That sometimes, the smallest voices leave the biggest marks.